zoot suiters gave their cars a stylized look by pushing them close to the ground, sometimes by piling sandbags in the trunk. But as lowriding developed in Southern California's Black and Latino communities, it also became part of a larger social movement.
There was this cultural renaissance in Black and brown neighborhoods, you know, in the 40s and 50s and 60s, where it was music, it was cars. It was about creating, I think, a very Los Angeles youth cultural identity.
Like customs, the lowrider look evolved from muted colors, often gray or black primer paint, to more brilliant candies, pearls, and metal flakes. Early metal flake paints consisted of tiny aluminum squares or shaved chrome, which were mixed with clear lacquer, sprayed over the base, and then covered with more lacquer to overlay the metal tips before sanding and buffing.
We'll just spray it on there and that thing will twinkle. It was just awesome. And you can see that deepness, that rich, where you can, if it's a candy apple red paint job, you just want to bite it.
Though metal flake remains popular among lowriders, contemporary cars also sport a combination of abstract pinstriping and lines of gold leaf. Interiors have evolved from velvet and velour to leather, with ostrich and even alligator trim.
Yeah, no, we spared no expense on the ostrich. We used ostrich on the visor. We used ostrich on the piping. Most people would have just dissed it. But we said, no, we got to follow the scheme all the way around with ostrich, all the way through. And that's it. We just try to make it plain and simple, make it look good.
Hand-painted murals display mythic imagery, religious icons, and celebrations of the female form.
Art became part of a way to inspire the community to take pride in their culture, to celebrate their culture, and to use art as a way to tell a story. And I think unlike murals that are on walls, I think that the murals on cars allow you to take it out of the boundaries of the patio.
Of course, the primary aim of a lowrider is to ride low, very low. Early techniques included installing smaller tires, which brought the frame closer to the ground. Coil suspensions were torched, with several coils removed to shorten their reach. For leaf spring suspensions, leaves were rearranged to flatten the curve, then topped with lowering blocks to pull the chassis closer to the wheels, making the car lower still. A magnesium plate attached to the undercarriage provided the payoff, creating colorful sparks when a lowrider literally hit the highway. But riding low also sparked trouble with the law. To try and clear the streets of these vehicles, a 1959 California statute prohibited any part of a car from dipping below the bottom of the wheel rim. Lowriders responded by developing battery-powered hydraulic systems, which could raise or drop a suspension while a car was in motion, navigating it over rough roads and past police inspections.
The evolution of the hopping kind of came from adding the batteries, the vehicle eventually coming up off the ground because it was coming up so fast. One guy just got the idea, hey, let me see what I can do and let's make this thing bounce.
At Homey's Hydraulics east of Los Angeles, a customized suspension system begins with the installation of metal frames, which are welded directly to the chassis from inside the trunk. Coil springs are trimmed to lower their height, then fitted to hydraulic cylinders or strokes.
Here we have your actual stroke. This is a 10-inch stroke. You got your donut right here, and we got a cup. This cup actually sits inside the actual coil right here. And this little piece gets welded onto the trailing arm so it doesn't slip around. And everything's locked into place like that. It's gonna come up in here. And sit in there just like that. And then when that oil gets pumped into the hose, there's a shaft in here. It's gonna extend. And this is gonna hit all the way to the top of the frame, compressing the coil, making the car go up.
The cylinders are connected by hoses to motorized hydraulic pumps, similar to those used in the gate lifts of delivery trucks, and filled with 30-weight motor oil. The pumps can both propel and retract fluid from the cylinders by flipping switches up or down on the instrument panel.
You know, you hit the front switch, down, the car's gonna go down. You hit it up, it's gonna go up. Same thing with the rear and the two back corners.
The more potent the battery power, the higher the hop. This car is outfitted with 8 batteries, 2 pumps, and 4 switches.
It's not too much, it's not too little, so it's just right. You know, someone comes up, pulls on you, starts hopping. You know, you don't want to just sit there and let them hop on you, so you answer right back, and that's just enough.
Hydraulic setups are also designed to compete for points at car shows, based on visual appeal. Part of an overall display, which includes heavily chromed engines and undercarriages, and pinstriping under the hood.
Things that would have been thought out of the norm for a basic lowrider is now a standard and creates points.
Anti-cruising laws have made it more difficult for lowriders to strut their stuff beyond the bounds of officially sanctioned shows. But the scene still thrives in more informal settings, where social rituals, and even the cars themselves, link generations of families and friends.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Car guys are family guys. They want to take their children out. They want to take their nephews, cousins, aunts, grandfathers, and grandmothers. It's a family thing. It's for the love of it. It's in the blood, and that's the way of life. That's our way of life.
Lowriders made big and slow the way to go. But a new generation has given custom cars the strangest spin of all. The record for a lowrider hop exceeds 10 feet. Custom cars will return on Modern Marvels. We now return to custom cars on Modern Marvels. It's a strangely graceful form of pageantry on wheels. A competition in which cars are deliberately oversteered to slide and spin through a series of sharp turns. Instead of racing toward a finish line, contestants are judged on execution and style.
It's a bunch of nutters driving on the absolute edge of crashing against each other, inches apart. It's really a style thing, and you know, how far can you push it? And
started in Japan, drifting has caught on with a generation of customizers who introduced a new kind of custom car in Southern California in the 1980s, the import tuner. Like the early hot rodders, the tuner crowd made their mark by embracing cheap hand-me-downs. In this case, inexpensive Japanese economy cars, like the Honda Civic, and turning them into road warriors.
These were cars that Asian American families bought for their kids to go to school. And of course, you've got a Honda Civic. Well, you don't want it to be looking like everybody else's Honda Civic. So you're going to slam it, you're going to put some rims on it, you're going to put a spoiler on it, you're going to paint it a different color. Next minute, you're going to race it.
Until this new breed came along, customizing seemed stuck in time. The 70s gas crisis, coupled with tougher emission standards and later computerized engine control, dissuaded many hot rodders from working on contemporary cars. But a generation raised on the internet could plug software programs into their cars' computer ports and change the factory engine specifications, which were often set well below the car's performance capabilities.
The engine management programs that are used to control engines could be hacked and the parameters changed to give you more performance. And because engine durability had been improved so much in the 20 years between, say, 1970 and 1990, that made the engines more tolerant of being hot rodded.
Import tuners can also be hot-rodded in more traditional ways. Installing a turbocharger, an exhaust-driven pump that forces air into the combustion chamber at higher pressure, helps increase horsepower. Another way to add power is to inject nitrous oxide into the air-fuel mixture, which enriches the oxygen content in the cylinders as they're fired.
They'd put turbochargers on them, they'd put different cylinder heads on them, they'd put nitrous oxide on them, and suddenly a whole industry grew up around that little car.
As the popularity of import tuners grows, Japanese and American manufacturers have stepped up their lines of aftermarket engine parts, which can be ordered and installed under warranty. It's a form of car customizing that's gradually changing the attitude among owners from DIY, do-it-yourself, to DIFM, do it for me.
So now you can pull your car into a garage, have somebody bolt a turbocharger on it, bigger turbocharger, cold air induction, various other things. They can do a lot to the top end of the motor and get more performance.
At Pomona, California's SoCal Speed Shop, a late-model Chevrolet Cobalt, equipped with a standard Ecotec engine, has been customized so a driver can boost its turbocharger settings at the touch of a button and push it to speeds up to 243 miles per hour.
This is a Chevrolet Cobalt, and it's a steel-bodied car, pretty much like the production car you can buy from a dealer. Basically what we've done, working with Roush Industries, is put this 7-point roll cage in there, hands device to protect your head, and it has this wonderful little gadget on the steering wheel where you can increase the boost 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 pounds of boost. It's just like a video game.
Import tuners are going for style points as well. For many, that means neon lights and high-end video and sound systems. They're often on display at multimedia events that feature DJs, dancing, and a wide array of up-to-date models. They're not your father's auto shows.
You go to a car show and some of the stuff they manage to do with them is just mad, really mad. These days, a lot of the events try and encompass car shows, racing, drifting, models, all of it in one.
This thing is all about aesthetics, whether it's aesthetics of the car sitting still or whether it's aesthetics of the car in action, smoke in the tire, drag racing. I mean, it's a very, very visual motorsport, more so than maybe anything else, because it's all about, ground-shaking power and smoke and smells, and, it's what makes it exciting.
They're doing everything the hot rodders and the customizers did. It's just that they have a different look, but it's still the same game.
But even as import tuners define the state of the art, older generations of customizers are giving vintage rides a modern makeover. In 2005, a customized Honda Civic exceeded 195 miles per hour on the Bonneville Salt Flats. Custom cars will return on Modern Marvels. We now return to custom cars on Modern Marvels. Once expressions of separate subcultures, hot rods, customs, lowriders, and import tuners have adapted each other's ideas and innovations to become ever more homogeneous, an American melting pot on wheels.
One of the lessons we can take out of these things is how much creative energy and artistic enterprise there are in just regular people. It's extraordinary when you look back and look at some of these cars and say, these guys were, they were factory workers and machinists and clerks, and in a way, it kind of reminds us of the innate genius in all of us. And who knows where it will go next.
This is the GTO Roadster, retro back from the 60s. How would you like to drive a Roadster GTO in 2005 and 6? This will give you an idea of what we do here in California.
For legendary customizer George Barris, the future of custom cars inevitably draws from its past. His restyled Pontiac GTO combines the old-fashioned power of a muscle car with the modern accoutrements of an import tuner, such as vertically hinged doors, pairs of 20 and 22-inch wheels, and cameras installed inside the taillights, which project views through video monitors mounted on the dash.
I took the side mirrors and I threw them away. And all I do is look at my dash now. I got 2 monitors. I can see 45 degrees anywhere around me. You'll find that John Q. Public, whether he's a car guy or not, is going to definitely look at this GTO and enjoy it.
Outfitting customs has become big business. The garage where Vic Edelbrock Sr. began designing manifolds has evolved into a sprawling manufacturing plant.
My father used to get an idea, and the pattern maker would kind of draw it out on a piece of wood, and he'd say, I want so much area under the carburetor, and then I want so much taper, and that. Today, we do it much, much better because we've got the equipment to do it with.
These days, Edelbrock makes more types of aftermarket parts than any other company. Its signature products, manifolds and cylinder heads, are still crafted entirely in-house. From computerized designs, to casting and machining, to packaging for final sale.
And when we're through, it's strictly take out of the box and put it on the engine. This is the key to the program.
The demand for old-school hot rods and customs is surging as well.
Now, it's possible to either build a car mail order or to go to a shop like ours and have a car either part built or completely built. So it's real easy to have something that looks old, but that works in a modern way.
Brian Brennan has done just that. His street rod, a 1932 Model A body perched on a 29 frame, melds classic style with contemporary performance.
The grill shell is a 1932 Ford with a 32 Ford inset. The hood is a 3-piece hood, and it's aluminum, and in effect, it's a custom hood. The windshield frame is reminiscent of a Model A, but here again, it's not Model A. It's also a custom piece. The front suspension, what's holding in place? Well, those are hairpins that are from SoCal here in Pomona, California. And the wheels are reminiscent of early race car wheels. The interior, very traditional in its style. Very plain, very simple. It's a simple pleat, and it's done in black leather. It's a roadster, all right? And in my case, I've chosen not to have a top. Some people think I'm crazy to want to drive all the time without a top. I like to think that I get to see things they don't get to see.
In this overwhelmingly male-driven automotive culture, custom cars may be the ultimate boys' toys, both the symbol and the object of an age-old romantic quest.
On one side, you can see that part of customizing your car hopefully will translate into you attracting a beautiful woman. And the other side is that the car does take on these elements of a woman.
Are cars male or female? It depends on the owner, and it also depends on the emotional state of the owner. The one thing about automobiles is that, they rarely say no.